There are a few teams that I believe will or at least could draft a quarterback in the first 3 rounds of the NFL draft. Like, look, if you're Buffalo, if you're Denver, if you are the Chargers and LA, you don't need a quarterback. You're not drafting a quarterback anytime soon. And there's not a ton of first-round quarterbacks out there, in my opinion. I think it's really only Malik Willis and maybe Kenny Pickett. But there are some interesting guys out there who could be drafted in the 2nd or 3rd round. You know, Sam Howell, Desmond Ridder, Matt Corral, guys who I think in the right situation could become a franchise quarterback. If they have time to develop, like, they could be pretty good. Remember, Russell Wilson was a 3rd-round pick. In that same draft class, Kirk Cousins, a guy who's been a starting quarterback for a long time, made a ton of money, was a 4th-round pick. Derek Carr was drafted in the 2nd round. I think of Andy Dalton. Not a legendary quarterback, but definitely Andy Dalton, starting quarterback for a while in the NFL, 2nd-round pick. Like, you can find a quarterback who can play after the 1st round. Historically, the obvious one, I don't even like bringing this up because it's not even like comparable to anybody, but Tom Brady, formerly a 6th-round pick, like, it can happen. And I just really think someone like Sam Howell in the right spot, for example, feels like he could be a franchise quarterback. I love the idea of Sam Howell getting drafted by the Detroit Lions in the 2nd round. And then we're like, hey, Jared Goff, if he starts sucking, next guy up, and Sam Howell could be solid. So I believe that, number one, the Atlanta Falcons are a team that is going to draft a quarterback. Marcus Mariota, they gave him a small 2-year, $18 million deal. Now, I'd love over $19 million a year to play quarterback in the NFL, but for a starting quarterback, that's nothing. That's not franchise quarterback money. It doesn't tell me that Atlanta is fully committed to Marcus Mariota. Number 8 overall is their draft pick, and if Malik Willis, the quarterback out of Liberty, is available, I think Atlanta pulls the trigger and drafts Malik Willis. They're like, hey, you can sit behind Marcus, till you're ready, and then we are going to be rolling full steam ahead with Malik Willis long term. Now, if Malik Willis is gone, number 8 overall, say Carolina makes a move and drafts him, or Pittsburgh, for example, maybe moves up in the draft to take him, I think it's likely that Atlanta will draft a 2nd-round pick at quarterback because they need someone to develop under Marcus Mariota, and I'm just not convinced that Atlanta believes in Marcus Mariota long term. Similarly, the Pittsburgh Steelers gave Mitchell Trubisky a small contract. They've got the 20th overall pick. I know they love Malik Willis. He'll probably be gone by 20th overall, but they maybe trade up. We'll see what happens. I'm not at all convinced that Pittsburgh is all in on Trubisky. They will likely draft a quarterback in the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd round of this upcoming NFL draft. The Lions, they got the number 2 overall pick. I think they're going to spend it on the best player they can. I think you pick a non-quarterback number 2 overall. You got a solid quarterback, Jared Goff, who's not awful, and he can win with help. So I think you keep building your roster. But come that 2nd round, that 3rd round, Matt Corral, Sam Howell to Detroit, makes a lot of sense to me. I could see that happening. Tennessee is a similar story. Tennessee is one that no one's really talking about, but I think they're in the quarterback market way more than people realize. I would love to see Tennessee trade for Baker Mayfield. I think that would be fascinating. But Ryan Tannehill is not the answer forever in Tennessee. I see them drafting a quarterback in the 2nd round. I think that would happen as well. The Panthers' best quarterback on their roster is Sam Darnold. Do you trust Sam Darnold? I don't. I want to. I'd like to. But I don't think Sam Darnold's it. Could end up with Baker Mayfield, I guess. But I think Carolina is a team that could draft a quarterback in the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd round. More likely, I think, the 2nd or 3rd round, but we'll see. Seattle has Drew Lock. I think they could draft him. Some competition for sure. Sam Howell, Matt Corral. Like, these names are out there, and I'm like, Desmond Ritter's another one. Like, they're going to get drafted at some point, and these are the teams that could pick them. Now, the Colts, the Giants, and the Saints are teams to watch that I'm like, we'll see what happens. Indianapolis' quarterback, Matt Ryan, he's 37 years old. And they've got a 2nd and 3rd round pick from Washington from that Commander Carson trade. I think really they need an offensive lineman and a receiver. I think they use their draft picks to help build their team around Matt Ryan. I would be shocked, actually, if Indianapolis drafted a quarterback early in this year's NFL draft because Matt Ryan is their guy this year and they have bigger needs and they have few draft picks. I think they're going to use their picks to help their team rather than try to make a move that doesn't help them immediately day one next year. The Giants have Tyrod Taylor and Daniel Jones. I think they need to invest in the quarterbacks they already have. Daniel Jones is talented. I'd love to see him in Brian Daboll's offense. Tyrod Taylor, if it's not Daniel Jones, Tyrod Taylor I feel pretty good about. I don't think they need to get a new quarterback in New York. I think that would be very redundant and weird at this point. Just build with what you have. And then New Orleans, the Saints, they are a team that they've got Jameis Winston at quarterback. I don't think they can find anybody better in the second or third round of this year's NFL draft. But they gave him they gave him a bigger 2-year deal, a deal that compare what Marcus Mariota is making to Jameis Winston. A little more money, feels like there's a little more confidence there, much more than Mitchell Trubisky. I think Jameis is the guy for now. They've got a good deal going right now where they got a kind of a bargain at quarterback with Jameis Winston. And I think what they're going to do and should do is focus on drafting Jameis help to build around him and so help them win. But these are the conversations happening, and these are the teams that I think could make a move to draft a quarterback in the first, second, or third round.